got a pan filmed here with a little bit of oil over kind of medium-high heat. And I'm going to sprinkle shrimp in there and start cooking them. About that many, I think I can fit nicely into the pan. All right, and we're going to cook them until they're almost done, and then we're going to add the seasoned sauce to that. So I'm going to check my temperature here, give it a little bit higher temperature, come back to our blender, and do the second blending on this. Now at this point, I'm going to add a little bit more broth to it to give it the sauce-like consistency. It should be a little bit like a cream soup, that kind of consistency. Now, if you've ever had, say, the classic Mexican enchiladas that have a green sauce on it, that is essentially the same sauce minus the herbs and minus the pumpkin seeds. So you can sort of imagine that we've got this tomatillo sauce base, this green sauce base, and then we have made it more complex. And in so, we've stepped over the line from sauce to mole, because moles are always really complex, and people think of them as something that you would have for a special occasion. To just see how beautifully velvety that is. See, it's just totally velvety. Really lovely stuff there. Now I'm going to check the salt level of it, because it needs to be seasoned now. There was a little bit of salt in that broth. Wow, it's just super delicious. And I'm going to take our seasoned sauce now, though it's a tiny bit thick still, and I'm going to pour it in with this shrimp. And we'll let the shrimp just finish cooking in that. So this is really, even though it's a mole and a very special occasion kind of thing, you can see it's not the kind of thing that takes a really long time to make. If you're going to have some friends over and you want to serve something that will take them on a trip with you, this is the kind of thing to do, because you get the nuttiness of the pumpkin seeds. You get the flavor of the herbs. Now, say you want to do this, but you don't have epazote, don't want to find epazote, can't imagine finding epazote, and certainly don't want to grow it in your backyard. You can make the exact same sauce with all cilantro. Just throw more cilantro into it. It's still super delicious. And because those pumpkin seeds create that velvety texture, everybody will think that you've made this super rich sauce that's got all this cream in it or butter in it or whatever, and you taste it and it's very light on your tongue. It has a creaminess to it, but it's very light on your tongue. Now, let's talk about vegetables. Because when you get these kinds of dishes in Mexico City especially, they will usually have pieces of vegetables cooked into them. And one of the things that they will typically have is chayote. I don't know how many of you worked with chayote before? How many of you have cooked it? So it's less than 10%, it looks like. So I will tell you, for those of you that haven't worked with chayote, it is a really delicious vegetable, but you kind of need to know what's the best way to cook it. I like to steam it, basically. If I'm going to mix it into a green mole like this, when you cut it in half, I'm cheating here, you can see this, because I have this one already cut in half. When you cut it in half, it will have this pit in the middle, and you can dislodge that pit. It's a very thin pit. You can dislodge that pit and pull it out. It's real tiny. Now, a lot of people will peel chayote, which I think is sort of a silly waste. It's like peeling zucchini. It's got a very soft skin on it, so why not just leave it on there? So I suggest you cut it in half, don't peel it, pull out the pit, and cut it out, and steam it, and then toss it in with the sauce, because it'll add a nice sweetness. Now that's one way to do it, but I'll have to say one other thing that I just absolutely love, and that is in the summertime, when you decide you're going to grill something, grill some chayote, because it gets even sweeter when you grill it. smoky and sweet, or roasted along with some roasted carrots or something in your oven. It's a really nice vegetable to know about because its natural sweetness is what is really good. Now, the one thing that I don't recommend doing with chayote is boiling it because it's like a sponge, it'll just soak up water. Okay, so stay away from that part of it. Now, we've got some chayote, and we're starting to pass out your samples there. A little zucchini chopped up and steamed right alongside it. And we've got our finished shrimp here in this beautiful sauce. I've got a plate full of chayote, steamed chayote and zucchini. And I'm going to stir those in. Got a few pumpkin seeds that I separated out. A little bit of cilantro. So what I'm going to do here is to put it all out on a platter so that you can see how beautiful the finished dish is. And I'm going to put it on this same platter here that I used just a minute ago for showing you those ingredients. And we'll just spoon it right on there. I'll tell you, this makes a really, really nice company dinner. You can also do this sauce beautifully with salmon, but you're going to want to cook the salmon differently. What I usually do is saute the salmon separate and serve the sauce on the salmon. The color of that pale green sauce against that beautiful pink salmon is really wonderful as well. This dish is typically served with chicken in Mexico, and you can just slide chicken breast, boneless chicken breast into the sauce and kind of poach them in the sauce if you want to do it that way. So I've got my presentation platter made here. I like to sort of enhance the nuttiness of the sauce by taking a few pumpkin seeds that have been toasted and just crushing them in my hands and sprinkling those over the top of it like that. Take some leaves of cilantro and sprinkle those down over the top of it. Just kind of shower them down on it. And you've got this really wonderful green mole of shrimp with chayote and zucchini. Thank you all very much.
Con suerte, que si me salta un gallo no me le rasco la muerte. Ay, ay, ay.